kind of interesting this weekend. I went to go see Jimmy Carr.
Oh yeah, he was
British
great.
comedian.
Yes.
Very
Do you know Jimmy Carr?
insulting.
Do you know Jimmy Carr? The guy's like
Offensive.
raunchy. Yeah.
But he has such a reputation of being good with hecklers that people just show up for that
Yeah.
and act obnoxious and think they're really funny.
Yeah, some do.
They never stood a chance.
No. Yeah, no, it was good. It was so good. Greg, what do you got for me today? What do you got?
Right. Today, we're going to go over a couple different, moments in your past, and probably going to be our most relatable episode. This is for anyone who's done more than a few deals, they've run into an agent that they haven't seen eye to eye with, or just had a kind of a rough run-in.
Okay.
And they're not sensational, but they're very, they're just, at the time, looking back on it now, but at the time they were, significant. So,
so you had an interesting sort of title for today's podcast.
Sure, yeah.
So what is it?
We're going to do a grudge match today.
Grudge match.
Some longer term feuds that you have with some agents. Nothing like,
Yes.
It's a cold war. It's not an active hot war. But, so.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get into it. Round one.
Round one.
Here we go. So this is one that happened earlier in your career with a very prominent agent here in town. I think did you even have your first sale yet? You know which one I'm talking about when you ran into him?
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about when I was doing all the networking and...
So much networking.
Yeah, so much networking in the beginning. Okay, so I remember this. And this agent was the president of the Victoria Real Estate Board at the time. So I'm like brand new, just starting in my market. I'm so new. I'm door knocking. I'm like going to every networking event I can possibly go to. And I get invited to, I had a client at the time, this little elderly kind of gentleman, and I get invited to the Lions Club. So I'm just excited that, people are talking to me and networking with me.
Right. So, and for Gen Zers, what's a Lions Club?
What's a Lions Club? Like what? Yeah. Lions Club is like, I don't know. It's like it's networking.
Yeah. I mean, it's a charitable group.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Filled
so it's
with
like a charitable
old people drinking
organization.
coffee.
Yeah. Exactly. Basically. Yeah. Trying to fix their community.
Yeah.
It's really sweet. So I'm invited to Lions Club. We do like this year-end dinner thing at a really popular restaurant here in town. And across the restaurant, I spot this agent. And I know that he's the president of the Victoria Real Estate Board. So I'm like mustering up the courage to go up and say hi. And finally I'm like, okay, I'm going to go introduce myself. I go and I introduce myself. I'm like, hey, I'm a new realtor. I'm just so pleased to meet you. And like just showing a ton of reverence, like I am not worthy, but really just wanted to kind of say hi. And he totally snubs me, like gave me this look like he just was eating lemons or something. Like it wasn't even like a hi. It was just like a grossed out look. And so I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. Like kind of fall. And of course, like when something like that's happening, I don't know how many people actually notice, but I feel like everybody's like watching me get snubbed. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And kind of just like turn around and walk away. And like it just left such a like bad feeling. You know what I mean? Like it was just so like, it was like, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Like it was just really a bad feeling. So I've since done a number of deals with this agent, and actually we have like a mutual kind of respect, I think like a working relationship now. But at the time it was so like I was hollowed out by that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it happens all the time, right? Where it's very antagonistic relationships or like industries sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially with the, old timers being, wanting you to prove yourself first before they even bother to talk to you.
Or like this idea that you haven't done anything, so you're not worth the time of day. Like you're nothing. Still, right? And I think there's a lot of like real estate, let's face it, attracts ego type personalities. Mm-hmm. So it's this like, I'm up here, you're down there, you're nothing, right?
Yeah, it's a battlefield. The economics, dealing with everyone's egos can be such a nightmare sometimes, and so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And one of the reality is that like the next top agent in this market is probably writing their exam right now, and you don't even know their name. Like you don't know. This agent didn't know that you were gonna build a huge team here and outdo you sell more houses than him now. He's older and I don't know how into it he is, but just didn't have to go down that way.
Totally. And so, I mean, especially, as over the years, as I've been like growing my team or, growing my business in my own market, I've had so many new agents approach me, and sometimes it's just to say hi. Sometimes it's to ask a piece of advice. But like, honestly, I carry that experience with me. And I think the point you just made is great. The next top agent in your market, your next biggest competitor might still be in high school, might just be writing their real estate exam, and you don't know who they are. And so, yeah, I think, this idea that like you're so great because, you're at a certain point. I think it's crap. And I always try to offer a word of encouragement. This is an industry with, we've said it in other shows, but like where the attrition rate is over 80%. It's huge numbers. And like, if you can just be like, hey man, good luck to you. Be cool. Number one, you might attract that person to your team. You might attract that person to your brokerage, and they might be the person on the other side of your next deal, or they might have 10 listings before you know it. And you're like, where'd this kid come from, or where'd this person come from? And now they're a player in your marketplace, and you need to make nice.
Yeah, and a lot of times, just like with a client, or when you're calling, when you're prospecting, and someone tells you to F off, like he could have just been having a rough day, but
sure.
It's happened a few times with this particular agent. So
yeah,
it was a pattern. But then you guys have, you still remember it, but you've moved on. We'll circle back to this again. But let's get into round two.
Round two. Okay.
All right. This is about. It was a really tough negotiation.
Yeah.
And then there was a real grudge held afterwards because of how it went down on their part, not on your part.
I think that's where you got grudge match from.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate real estate grudge. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right, let's hear it.
God, okay, I don't even know where to start. So, we're in the thick of it, guys. We're in the middle of a negotiation. So I've got the listing, agent brings the buyer. And it starts at about 9, 10 a.m. in the morning. They lowball us, right? Mm-hmm. We get the lowball. And we're going back and forth all day. It's now about like 7 o'clock at night. And we get the thing verbally put together. Whole other conversation on verbals. But we get the thing verbally put together. So I call the agent and I let them know, hey, in theory, in principle, we have a deal. We're on the same page. We're going to have to get some stuff in writing, but this is where we're at. So they're obviously excited and ready to go. The second I hang up the phone, I get an offer in writing from a second party. So another agent throws their hat in the ring. I haven't got anything signed off yet. I haven't got any paperwork done. And as all agents listening to this know, I have a duty to my seller to bring them the second offer, which is now better than the offer that we had just talked about. Sucks. It sucks so bad. It actually it even it felt gut wrenching to me because I knew how hard this agent had worked for this negotiation all day. But now I got to call him back and say, oh my God.
And you had verbally agreed to it.
Yeah. And there was, a meeting of the minds at this point. And so I have to call him back and say, sorry, man, but I just got a better offer. And now I got to go deal with that. And he's absolutely livid, as all of us can imagine. That he's livid, he's gutted, and his clients are too, right? They thought they had a done deal. And so now the second party is in a position where they either have to do better, they had to do better on their offer or lose the property. And in order to do better, I think they were going to go unconditional and add some money to the deal. But in order to do that, they needed a piece of paperwork that I didn't have access to at the time. So the office I was working at the time, it was after hours. They didn't order these docs for us. And the agent...
From the land title office.
Yeah, from land title or whatever title. It was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it was land title. And then, anyway, so the agent, the first guy that was in the negotiation all day, manages through his office to get the piece of paper that he needs to go unconditional and to beat the second offer that kind of took the wind out of their sails. And... He had to pay $20 to get this piece of paper, but he gets it, wins the deal. And to be honest, I was really happy for him because I was like, oh man, this sucks. I'm sorry, but I got to do right by my clients here. And so they get the deal. Everything gets signed up. I send him off the paperwork in writing saying it's a done deal, all signed up by my seller saying, congratulations. I know this was hard fought. You deserve, good on you and your people. You guys deserve this. To which this agent responds what did he even say? He said something like, "Go screw yourself. You owe me $20." That was how he wanted to wrap this thing up. So, okay, and when I first got the response, I was like, yeah, okay, it kind of, it sucked. He had a really crappy day. I get it. Maybe he's not feeling the wind just yet, right? But later on, we're doing like the conveyancing. We still have to talk to each other. And his entire response to me the whole time for communicating the conveyancing of this thing is like, you owe me $20. You owe me $20. You owe me $20. Like, he cannot let it go.
And he was upset about what he didn't understand though was because if you look at this other offer, he was threatening. If you look at this other offer, I'm taking you to the board, or there's going to be repercussions.
Yeah.
Well, what he doesn't understand is that the person that gave the offer was actually a managing broker, and he said, if you don't present this offer to your clients, I will take you to the board. So you were in like this fix, and maybe you wanted to do business with this guy.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people are going to complain about you. It doesn't matter if they want to take you to the board. It doesn't matter if they're hot and upset in the moment. It's like, what's my fiduciary duty? That's the only thing I can focus on at this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, just by the way, an agent threatening to take you to the board is the equivalent of a tantrum, right?
Yeah.
It's usually very little that can be done if you've kept your nose clean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So, but, I figured eventually it would go. So, like time passes, maybe 6 months or so, we're in another deal with this client. I submit an offer to his listing, and his response is, you owe me $20.
Yeah.
And every time, okay, like seriously, I feel like it was a whole 5-year period. We did like 4 deals since that initial deal.
Right.
And it got to the point where I could have sent him the $20, but I was like, dude, like, no, like, get over this.
How long can you be upset over this?
Yeah.
And that's not rhetorical. It turns out it's 5 years.
The answer is 5 solid years.
Yeah.
That's the answer to that question. Oh my God. And so like, anyway, so that person was so upset and like held that grudge. And to me, like, I just think of all the times that I've walked in, going to bat for your clients. Like, he went to bat. He won the property for his clients. He should have been happy to spend the $20. I would have been happy if that was me in that situation. But it's like, how can you be so like miserable about something like this, right? Like, I've walked into places where the place is a disaster and I've had to pay for cleaning bills for my clients. Like, I will do whatever it takes to make sure my client is happy, because it was on me to make sure my client was happy. He did what he had to do, and he just wouldn't take the win.
Yeah, when you do the number of transactions that you do, there's going to be a ton of this stuff that comes up, and we're not talking about them because you've forgotten about it. Like, it doesn't matter.
You got to let it roll
Move
off
on
your
to the
back.
next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like I said, we could go on and on about these kinds of little things, and whether there's some agents out there that probably just like you that
sure, yeah,
probably listening right now.
No, can't be.
But so just with those two in mind, let's just maybe circle back to the first one, or even just the second one. Like, what's the biggest takeaways that you have, either about how to deal with them or what you've learned from them?
I think we kind of mentioned it, but like the first one is, don't discount any new agents. Don't look down on somebody because they haven't built a career yet, because I just think that you don't know who your competition's going to be. And I think that as realtors, we serve our clients best when we work together, right? Like, all the best transactions and the best outcomes always have come from this is probably even for the second grudge match as well. But like, yeah, don't talk down to other agents. You want to be there supporting them. And I've even coached agents through deals where, they're representing a party and I'm representing a party. And I know that they're struggling through what could get them there. And I've coached them through a deal. In fact, I've recruited people to the team by coaching a newer agent through their transactions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, that's one of the, I would kind of put it as doing the work up front, where we do this in training all the time. Like, be prepared if you come into a situation that you're prepared for it. So you've done the work, you know how you're going to react if that happens. And that really is this kind of a culture conversation where this is who I am, this is who I want to present as an agent in the world. Even if I get frazzled a little bit, you're still going to be, act in integrity and whatever core values that you kind of have set up for yourself. So think that stuff through. I don't think agents understand they're running a business. They need to think about what their core values are and how they want to present themselves.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to expand on that? I know that for me, one of the actions, and I stole this from another real estate team, but the core value was run into the fire. So making sure that you're the person that takes action. You don't let stuff fester.
Yeah,
and you don't.
that one.
Then you don't send cranky emails. 5 years later. Yeah. But because you've faced it off head first. Maybe that doesn't quite fit. But
well, I think it fits with the first example. What's your core values of how you want to treat people, right?
Right.
So I think like the run into the fire is it actually kind of fits for both. But like the first one is like your core values of how you want to treat people, and like whether it's their first day in the business or whether they've been in it for 50 years. Like I can't tell you the number of people that say to our new agents, oh, how long have you been in the business? What is this, your first day in the business? Like they're trying to demoralize them. And it's like, who cares if that person turns around and starts doing, 50 plus deals a year more than you're doing? It doesn't matter how long they've been in the business because they're clearly doing it better than you. And time in it has nothing to do with how good you are at this business. It's number of transactions that determine how good you are at this business. Your experience. Yeah. And I always, like when new agents are getting demoralized, and I'm like, listen, yeah, it's your first year in the business, but you've done 25 deals and that person does like 6 a year. So if I was going to get surgery and I was going to go to a surgeon and I had the choice between the guy that's been doing it for 10 years and does 6 of these a year, or a choice between the person that's just done 25 of my surgeries, I'm going with the new person that's just done 25. So time in it doesn't matter. And I guess if you're new and you're listening to this, don't let somebody intimidate you just because they've been in it for longer. It doesn't matter. That's kind of like, for the first one. But, as the senior agent, my core value is never make anybody feel small.
Right. And so for newer agents that do have to go and talk to these senior agents and negotiate against, old pros, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. There's a lot of, just obeisance to what they're more willing to just let the more experienced person dictate. But you have to come with that fire or like, okay, so run into the fire. Like if that was totally not part of my personality before. I was kind of a more of a passive person. And there's a really good book about this called The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. Oh, yeah. So like even if you can just manifest a part of your personality that can be that person, and then you actually will start to become that person. You become your idealized self. So all of that is to say the core values and like set them out, write them down, share them with other people that's how you want to be in the world. And pretty soon you will be, or you could be. Yeah.
And I think you're kind of, bringing that back to like the second example where like, that's what that agent had to do, right? They had to run into the fire for their client at the 11th hour. It sucked. It was terrible. And like the reason we didn't think of it as like grudge worthy is because we would do that in a heartbeat for our people. Like, right. Hey, it's 8:00. I thought I was done for the day, but apparently my day's just started after a very robust negotiation and large day. But now's the moment where my core value of running into the fire takes on like what it's supposed to. And so we can't, you and I couldn't relate, and even like a lot of our team, we couldn't relate to the fact that this person was going to hold a grudge over this because it didn't make sense, because we're doing it every day, all day. We're picking up slack and making sure our clients get what they need, right?
Yeah. Okay, we have time for one more. So I've got a surprise one. It's going to be one that you will probably remember vividly. I don't even know the details of this one, but we were okay. So this is round 3.
Okay, all right.
This involves an agent, and I don't know where the beef started, but I remember we were at me and you were both at an awards dinner when I witnessed how this agent thought about you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. So take it away. Could you explain what happened, and then maybe if there was a reason that you can remember?
Yeah. Well. So I'm at an awards dinner, and I approach a good friend of mine who's a realtor, and she's at a different brokerage than me. So like this is like the MLS awards for my whole board. So I approach her, we're chatting, we're having a good time, and she's friends with her managing broker, who I didn't really know up until this point, but apparently hates me. because this woman came in the middle of our conversation and like stood in between me and the broker or the agent I was talking to and was like, we gotta go, this conversation's over, and goes to pull the agent away. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, what? Anyway, so I was really kind of like taken aback by this. Yeah, this is kind of a funny one. And the agent's like, well, I'm kind of in the middle of a conversation with my friend. Like, I'll join you in a minute. And the agent just like turns around, like gives me like death eyes, like a death stare, and walks away. So I'm like, apparently this managing broker is not a fan. We're not friends. I thought we were friends. I could have sworn I'd said hi to her earlier. So that was pretty weird. And then I found out a little bit later that like this person was like, you know, bringing up, you know, my name during like their office meetings and saying how inappropriately we were operating and functioning. And I was like blown away because this outfit is way bigger than that organization's way bigger than my organization. And it was really weird to learn that they were like actively, you know, sort of trash talking me during their meetings. And so, yeah, it was really bizarre. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, and it was funny how you found out about that. I remember this now, where you had an agent who was in there who was like, it doesn't seem to square with what I know about Patricia. It's like, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah. And
so I guess this would stem from an agent leaving that one and coming over to us, right?
Yeah, and then so like,
which happens every day in every city. Constantly.
Yeah, so that's the only thing we can trace it back to, is that the agent left that team and an agent left that team and came over to our team and was quite happy. And it was just like the gloves were off, right? Like and it was, yeah, like you say, it's commonplace. People are going to move around. Agents are going to look for the right fit and the right team or outfit or like, you know, brokerage for them. And it's super normal to have shifting and moving around. You're never going to be a fit for every single person out there.
Totally. I mean, we're always on the hunt for, you know, talented agents or agents that fit our culture.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's strange that she would be so offended by you. I mean, lots of other outfits have, you know, dedicated recruiters, or
totally,
you know, like a franchise is going to have a person who fills that role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
that's
a lot
not really
of people have
our model.
Absolutely. Like a lot of, you know, brokerages will have specific recruiter roles. Like it's a thing that you do in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like the first example you gave, you've recently done a deal with her, with this agent that hates your guts.
Yeah.
And it went fine. I don't think it was friendly, but it was
on
civil.
the real estate side, it was civil for sure. But if I'm ever at an event or anything like that, it's like cat, you know? Yeah. I don't know how to, like, what the word is, but it's just, yeah, very antagonistic, I guess, or yeah. So I think for me, like, when an agent, and actually we've had this a couple times where like an agent has like chosen our team over another team or chosen our brokerage over another brokerage and then gotten backlash from the other brokerage or team. And I just, like, to me, I think it's so petty because that person now, not only you've closed a door, right? Like if they come to our team or our brokerage and they have a bad experience, they're going to go anywhere except back to that brokerage. And like, to me, I sort of feel like if somebody just decides not to work with us, and we've had this happen a few times where an agent has decided not to work with us and then come back over to us after having like a year experience somewhere else, right? So I think you want to be able to hold the door open and say, listen, like, maybe this isn't a fit right now, but down the road, if it does become a fit or a good opportunity, I want to be there for that. I'm not going to just like slam the door shut and say we'll never work together again. I know my market's too small for that, and I feel like most markets are probably too small for that. It's burning bridges unnecessarily.
Yeah, and again, we don't generally talk about this shit very often. So this podcast notwithstanding, we're not bad-mouthing agents for the most part. It gives us very little thought. We're thinking about agent, and if we have a great experience, we're more likely to share that with our team than anything else. But,
100%.
Sometimes it's fun to bring these people up. Of the three, who would you, you got three rounds here. Mm-hmm. So who's the, I guess we'll say loser?
All three. They all sucked.
Okay.
No, they were all sucky situations. Don't do that. Don't do any of these three things. Yeah, and I think like the big lesson here is like, bottom line, you cannot control how people feel about you.
Right.
Right. And, the way that you show up in the world and what you're doing can't be dependent on how other people are viewing you or what other people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And that's like not just age specific or like experience specific. That's like, or real estate industry specific. That's just the truth. You can't concern yourself with what people are out there doing or saying about you. You can't control it. Oh, there's a great quote. What is it? It's like, what other people say about me is none of my business. And I think like if you can adapt that or adopt that, you'll be better off, right? Like I had no idea the one agent was holding a grudge over $20. I had no idea this other brokerage person hated my guts. Do you know what I mean? Until like there was this like weird incident. And you know what? I was perfect, and I'm still perfectly happy not concerning myself with that on a day-to-day.
Yeah, or that somebody, a very experienced agent, would not want you coming up and saying hi. Because, I mean, go do that. That's awesome. Most agents are going to be willing to listen to you and give you a little nugget of advice.
100%. 100%.